society to be vigilant of this phenomenon and to condemn it in all its cultural and political manifestation. Now we have the last point, which is very short. It's law enforcement. We left it to the group, but we thought it was very important to remind it because it's part of all the other points that we made. We call upon our governments to consider that anti-Semitism should become a criminal offense. We further call on our national parliaments to adopt legislation to this extent. We also encourage our national parliaments to adopt and implement the EUMC working definition of anti-Semitism, as we said before, so that our judicial systems can start reviewing anti-Semitic incidents and adjudicate them under the parameters specified in the above-mentioned definition. Now, this is all. I take the occasion also to thank Alex, a very nice young lawyer that helped us to put this down. She has been very useful to our work. Okay, this is all. Thank you very much.
Fiamma, thank you. Can I
excuse me so much. I forgot that we want to annex the OSCE commitments on combating anti-Semitism and recent hate crimes and incidents fueled by no anti-Semitism, which is a very useful document to our recommendation. That's it.
Thank you. Aviva Ravshekta.
Thank you, John. I would like to take this opportunity to convey on behalf of Minister Isaac Herzog, the head of our delegation, and the entire Israeli delegation, our appreciation, John, for your unique leadership and dedication in establishing the ICCA, for this important and timely conference, to the members of the steering committee, to each one of you, and of course to the ICCA organizational team. Minister Herzog had to leave back to Israel yesterday evening, and since he served as the chair of our working group, I would like to summarize our recommendations. But before that, we had a very special expert who contributed to our discussions, Mr. Christopher Wolf, and I would like him to present an overview of this theme of hatred on the Internet. Mr. Christopher Wolf is the chair of the Internet Task Force of the Anti-Defamation League, and please, Chris, if you could join us.
Thank you, Ms. Ross-Schechter. Thank you. At our working group, we observed that today the Internet is a powerful and virulent platform for anti-Semitism, hate towards Jews that has a direct link to violence, terrorism, and the general deterioration of civil society. We also observed that Hitler and the Nazis could never have dreamed of such an engine of hate. Indeed, the Internet is the new propaganda machine for anti-Semites, but instead of being under the central control of a political party or group, its power is its viral nature. Everyone can be a publisher, even the most vicious anti-Semite. Hate begets hate, and its common appearance makes it seem normal and acceptable. We especially observed in our working group that we are in the world of what is known as Web 2.0, which has transformed the way the Internet is being used. Now everyone can be an Internet publisher or propagandist, and with the users of Web 2.0 comprised largely of young people, the impact of the information contained there may persist for generations to come. With new search technologies, a fringe group's anti-Semitic website can be ranked as the #1 search result on Google and achieve worldwide viewership. In the few years since the advent of YouTube, Wikipedia, Facebook, MySpace, and other Web 2.0 technologies, we have seen a sudden and rapidly increasing wave of anti-Semitic videos, affinity groups, online commentary, and images of anti-Semitism across the Internet and around the world. Its perniciousness is that it makes anti-Semitism normal and socially acceptable. That was the premise for the recommendations that will follow.
And now I will summarize. specific themes. The first one will be data gathering, monitoring, and clearinghouse. Our working group recommends the ICCA to establish an international task force of internet specialists comprised of parliamentarians and experts to create a common metrics to measure anti-Semitism and other manifestations of hate online. The task force will promote a central clearinghouse such as the Council of Europe, the European Union and the OSCE to develop parallel responses on the Internet. The second recommendation under the title Awareness and Education is calling countries. Countries shall establish educational curricula to deal with anti-Semitism and other forms of hate online, including, without limitation, education on online safety, on methods of counter-speech, on Holocaust education, on respect for the differences of others, and specific programs to assist youth in the foregoing. Third recommendation under the title Legislation: promote industry codes of conduct against anti-Semitic and other manifestations of hate online. Encourage countries that are signatories to the hate speech protocol of the Cybercrime Treaty to enact domestic enabling legislation. And last, to encourage all countries to apply their consumer protection laws to the Internet industry with respect to promises by Internet actors to discourage anti-Semitic and other forms of hate speech, i.e. companies should be held to their promises embodied in their terms of service. And the recommendation, the last one, is enforcement. Encourage nation states to actively pursue domestic investigation and prosecution to address anti-Semitic and other hate-motivated crimes on the Internet, and to join the Global Prosecutors e-crime network and to share other experience and best practices. And I want to thank each and every member of our working group. We had Chris as expert, another expert from the UK Police and Prosecution, and we had quite interesting deliberations. We do hope that these recommendations will be implemented as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Aviva. Brilliant work and succinctly presented. Thank you. Chris Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, our working group, the Policing and Prosecution Working Group, included lawmakers from Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Canada, Germany, Ireland, Hungary, Spain, and the United States. We greatly benefited from the in-depth knowledge, counsel, and very practical insights afforded us by three experts: Ken Stern, Director of Anti-Semitism and Extremism from the American Jewish Committee; Paul Gianassi, Police Superintendent for the Office of Criminal Justice Reform in London; and David Matas from B'nai B'rith in Canada. Key questions and the discussion by all parliamentarians focused on the adequacy of our respective laws. All of us need to review and to study our statutes when we return home, to look at them in depth and analyze, for example, whether laws are effective or whether those laws are indeed infirm, obsolete, riddled with loopholes, gaps, and ambiguities, whether or not the punishment fits the crime, whether or not enhanced penalties for anti-Semitic hate crimes are feasible. As I think many of you know, we use enhanced penalties and add on an additional layer of punishment for those engaged in these egregious practices. Whether or not anti-Semitic hate crime laws are robustly enforced. As lawmakers, we all know that a law is only as good as its enforcement. Otherwise, it sits there as mere paper and does not have any relevance in the real world. We also discussed whether or not statistics are collected, made available to all the relevant stakeholders, and we also talked about the overarching and overriding need for police, prosecutorial, and judge training so that we do implement and administer the law effectively. Ken Stern made a point that hate crimes laws are at their best focused not on the actor's subjective thoughts, but on the actions themselves. Namely, was the victim of the crime selected to be victimized because he or she was or perceived to be